You guys want to check me here, make sure I'm good? I think, yeah, there we go. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Libby and Amanda are in the sound truck over there, so that's good. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and share today's disclaimer. Um, Last week, we touched a bit on wills and power of attorney documents and the like. And today I want to continue that discussion just briefly on the healthcare power of attorney. Maybe you have one, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't even know what that is. Some of you may have one and you don't realize that you've had one. We'll also talk about the stock market, one of my favorite subjects. We'll get into the S&P 500, which is basically just a collection of the 500 largest global companies in America. I say global because think of somebody like, or a company like Coca-Cola. They're doing business all over the world, but they're based here. So that's a global company. Small caps, we like to talk about smaller publicly traded companies. These companies are still huge, guys, but they're not as big as like Apple or Coke or Walmart or Amazon. And of course, the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is an index that really gained popularity in the mid to late 90s and then through the early 2000s. And that was when I was first getting started in the business. Um, I was deceived to think that companies like Procter and Gamble were done for, and only companies like PurchasePro.com or something like that was going to be the future. But hey, several of these uh, leaders that were leaders in the 80s are still around today. So that's the beauty of the stock market. Okay, so let's talk about the healthcare power of attorney. I'm really interested in the healthcare power of attorney personally, and I'll tell you why. I'm interested in it for two reasons. One, for my parents. I would encourage you guys to think about having your favorite son or daughter, your favorite neighbor, be your healthcare power of attorney, or at least be one of them. That way they can call the doctor from time to time and just say, "Hey, how's my mom doing? Or how's my dad doing? What's going on in their lives? Would you mind emailing me over notes from their last appointment? Because there might be some things on there that you forget to tell your kids." And so it's good peace of mind for your kids. I realize that they may boss you around, but they they'll probably watch your back and be there for you when there's things that you would rather just forget about, or um, maybe you're not paying close enough attention to. It's just good to have a second set of eyes. The other area that I'm interested in, the reason why I'm interested in the healthcare power of attorney, is we have kids who are getting older, and our oldest son is going to go off to college. And when you turn 18, you're no longer an adult, or I'm sorry, you're no longer a kid, you're an adult. And because of HIPAA rules, mom and dad can't just go check in and get a health report. Or if a kid ends up, in the ER, or for whatever reason, just needs some assistance, the healthcare power of attorney, that healthcare directive would allow mom and dad to speak with them, or with the doctors and the medical professionals. So it's a really important document. If you have some questions about your specific situation, I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk with you about it. Maybe you're managing up for your parents. Maybe you're a parent and you're thinking about, okay, who do I want to add? I want to have my spouse, but can I add someone else too? Or maybe you're 18 years old and watching this and thinking ahead. You know what? My parents need to get on this. I'm gonna create my own healthcare power of attorney. So those are just some thoughts behind the continued discussion that we had last week about the importance of wills and pre-planning and thinking ahead for things. Along those same lines, uh, good friend Keith, he's out today. He's out on assignment. He's out on assignment in Murray, Kentucky, of all places. And if you want to Google where that is, some of you know, some of you have been there. But he is celebrating a graduation today or tomorrow, and it's his youngest daughter's graduation. So great job, Casey. Um, I am super interested also in just college cost. Oh my goodness, guys, I'm there. Maybe you've been there. If you've been there, send me an email and tell me it's going to be okay. uh, I've walked through life with many people who have sent their kids to college, and some of you have paid full freight to college. Um, Others of you, maybe your kids have had a scholarship or some type of merit award, but most of us are writing checks of some sort, and want to encourage you that if you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, and you're thinking about this legacy type stuff for your grandkids or kids, an investment in them is just so huge, and giving them the opportunity to think is such a gift. And college doesn't have to be, the end all for that, but it's a great experience to walk through, and wanted to highlight the Indiana 529 college savings plan. It doesn't have to be the answer for you, but I want to share this with you. Maybe some of you know that they increased the amount that you can get a tax credit on. And so if you put 7,500 bucks into it, you get a 20% state tax credit. It used to be based on 5,000, but now it's ramped up to 7,500, and that's a lot of money, especially if you're a younger family and you're starting off, and or you're thinking, man, how in the world would I do that? Just starting with a little bit. I would encourage you to start with a little bit. Maybe it's 25 bucks a month, or something like that. uh, it's worth a look. Check it out, because uh, little Johnny will be 18 and needing a healthcare power of attorney before you know it. um, the last thing that I'm really interested in right now are non-retirement investment accounts. And what is that? That's the place where you start saving beyond your retirement account. And so a non-retirement investment account could be a savings account at a bank, could be money markets. It could be you're buying things like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. I'm not specifically recommending you do that because I don't know who's watching this, but it could be investing differently than you are right now. And the beauty of a non-retirement investment account is you could use that for your future. You could use that for what's happening with you presently. Maybe you need to buy a car or a new air conditioning unit. That's a great place to take money to fund those types of special projects. So those are just three areas that I'm interested in right now. Personally, the healthcare directives, college, and then other buckets for how to save money and invest. Those are great places. Hey, this past week, I had two conversations with clients that really stood out to me. Um, the first one I want to share with you was with an 82-year-old, and it was a phone call. And I called and I said, "Hey, um, how's your money situation? How's it looking?" And he says, "Doug, I wondered if you could rephrase that question for me. Like, what are you really asking me?" And I said, are you concerned about your finances at all? And he says, why would I be concerned about that? And I thought, wow, that is really cool to not have a financial concern. If you gave me you on the other end of this screen, if you turned on your camera, would you raise your hand and say, "Hey, I have no financial concerns"? I hope that's the case for you. But most of us have something banging around in our head, or maybe our spouse has something banging around in their head that is a money concern. And the point being with this guy, where it was so encouraging to me, is he said, "Look, we're content people. We love to get outside. We love to mow our own yard. We love that summer is here, and we just don't worry about our next meal." And this guy was living in the moment. And I thought, boy, that is just a really refreshing thing to be around somebody who's focused on the present tense. And so that was one really great conversation I had. The second great conversation I had with one of you was based around summer plans. She said, "My friends and I have decided that we're going to have the summer of fun." And this friend of mine is 70 years old. And she said, "We've decided we're going to have the summer of fun." Now, first, that what you need to know is she's a widow. And she started it off with "my friends and I." And so she has friends. At the end of It's a Wonderful Life, there's a great quote, and I'm going to totally botch it. I may have even said it on here, but it's something like this. It's like, you know, you're wealthy if you have friends, something like that. You could Google it. It's better than that, but um, having friends is such a big deal. And so for her, she is saying, "Hey, look, we are going to have the summer of fun." And that really jived with me because uh, last month I wrote out that we're going to have the best summer ever. and and the Shreves have had some pretty fantastic summers, but thought I'd share a little bit what this could look like for you. Got some notes here I'm going to read off the page. Um, but did you know that if you're within driving distance of the Carmel Gazebo, which is downtown Carmel, again, it's uh, it's kind of like Singapore, but it's here. The downtown Carmel Gazebo Wednesday nights they have a concert series, and my favorite local band, the Flying Toasters, are playing on May 29th. And so, if you've never heard the Flying Toasters, you're really missing out. I'm going to give you some ideas of things you could do this summer. Um, Last night, I went to an Indiana Fever game. Who here's been to an Indiana Fever game? Anybody? Uh, if you like air conditioning, it might be a great place for you this summer. You could go see number 22, Caitlin Clark and her friends. And I'm telling you, I had a blast watching the Fever game. And I even recognized a couple of the other players from the Atlanta Dream just from watching the women's tournament these past couple of years. And so I'd encourage you to have a date night or call your friend up and consider going to see the Fever. Let's see here. What else is on here? Oh, this is probably my favorite one for you. My favorite one for you is go swimming. When was the last time you went swimming? Jump in a pool and go swim at least one time. Just plan on doing that. Invite a friend over for dinner. Maybe invite a friend over, a neighbor over for dinner. Maybe it's just drinks in the driveway. I have a really nice lawn chair. It's one of those ones that has like shock absorbers on the back, and so you can rock. And I love to just set that up in my driveway and sit in the sun. It's pretty fantastic. If you don't have a good lawn chair, I would encourage you to call me up. and cash out some of your investments to buy yourself a really nice lawn chair. Um, and then this might be my favorite recommendation for you. Let me see if I can get it up on the screen. Okay. Do you see this? This is a cow. Now, this is a special cow. This is my friend Ellie's cow. And Ellie is our good friend. She lives up near Wabash, Indiana. And this is Caroline the cow. This cow was named after my wife. How cool is that? You know you've arrived when you've got a cow that's named after you. And so you can see Caroline the cow at the Wabash County Fair on July 17th, around there. If you really want to go, I'll get you the details. But Caroline the cow here, beautiful. Oh my goodness, this cow is so pretty. She was born in February. And point is, guys, is wherever you live across the awesome US of A, there is a county fair going on where you could go get an elephant ear, lemonade shake up, and like just enjoy the good life, the simple life of the county fair. That stuff starts happening this summer. So anyway, it's things like that that really get me going, thinking about the summer of fun that my friend said that she's going to be living with her friends. And I really do. I hope this is the best summer ever for you. I thought we'd dive in and talk a little bit about the stock market if we could. Bear with me here. Let's see. Libby, are we seeing the stock market? Okay, thanks, Libby. I had some interesting stuff up here. Let's take a look. We were looking at that first chart was on a specific stock that I was looking at earlier, but again, that's not a recommendation. That's just what popped up on my screen. I want to go through the market check with you guys, and this is something that I do on a regular basis, multiple times a week. I have a list of screens that I like to look at and do a market check on. And so, right out of the gates, I want to show you this. This is a reflection of the 13-week Treasury bill, and this is a lot. Okay, there's a lot going on here. What do you need to know? Here's what you need to know. Uh, I'll draw a line towards it so you can see it right here. See that? 52.40. What's that tell you? What that tells you is when you're considering a investment that can pay you interest, like uh, a savings account, a checking account, a money market account, a CD account, anything like that pays you pretty good interest with relatively low risk. And so this is the 13-week Treasury bill index, and it says it's paying 5.2%. That's what the 52.40 means. And so the 5.2% is about what you could expect to earn on a really good short-term investment. And that's just been fantastic to see. When Gimbal left LPL Financial and moved over to Fidelity, it was during a time where interest rates were very low. And I can remember at the time, I think the LPL money market was paying like 0.05%. It was just really, really tough for savers. Now, if you were borrowing money, you wanted to borrow for a 30-year mortgage, you might have been able to get a 30-year mortgage under 3. And so for borrowers, that was a great time. Back down in here, that was a great time. For savers, that was really difficult. And so for you guys who are putting money away and squirreling a little bit of your paycheck away, or you just don't like risk, now is a much better time for you than it was back then. And so that's been pretty encouraging. Interestingly enough, the longer you tie up money, the lower it pays you right now. And so a 10-year Treasury note is paying 4.4%. So you're getting a little more juice for a short-term investment than you are a long-term investment. And that's just really interesting because most of the time, if you were to make a longer term commitment, you'd want to see a little bit more money for what you're tying up. But that's what's happening inside the bond world or the savings account or the CD world. And then in the stock market, let's switch over and let's talk about the Dow Jones. We'll talk about the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and small cap investments. Remember, when we look at the Dow, this is just 30 stocks, but it does a fantastic job of reflecting what's going on uh, in the stock market. And we've been in a sell-off the last several weeks. This is a weekly chart. So each one of these vertical lines like this, that represents 1 week. So if we go back in time, really, we've been in a sell-off since that last week or so of March, first week of April, and the market has been under pressure. This week, we've started to look a little healthier, and that's been really good to see. We'll take a look at the S&P 500. This is the one that you hear about most. It's quoted on nightly news. It's quoted whatever radio station you listen to. They're going to say the S&P 500 was up or down. And these are the global companies that we had talked about earlier. Like the Dow, it had a tough last month, and then this week we're starting to see some strength. And so overall, we've still been in a nice uptrend, as you can see here, that draw a little arrow. And that started to happen really close to the fall of 2023, October 2023. Things started to look a little better. Okay, let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Here we go. Similar picture. The NASDAQ has been strong. This is primarily going to be influenced by technology stocks and future innovators. It's been looking great. And then smaller to medium size stocks, they haven't rallied up as quickly as some of the big companies that would be in the S&P 500, the Dow, or the NASDAQ, but they're starting to look pretty healthy here in the last couple of weeks. And so that's one we have our eye on. It's been really encouraging to see it start to move in the right direction. And then lastly, I'll highlight the volatility index in the VIX. Keith and I talk about this one regularly. And when it's lower like this, when it's low, that's typically good for the stock market. When these lines are not as drastic up and down, and they're a little tighter like this one is, that's good. That means that there's just not as much arguments over price. And so all said, if we just go back and we say, okay, what's the market look like? Again, this is the S&P 500. Things have been looking pretty good. And I know we're in an election cycle right now. This is the 4th year of an election cycle, our presidential election cycle. And we have interest rates in the news. Borrowers are happy with what, I'm sorry, savers are happy with what they're earning on their money market rates. New mortgage owners would like them to go down. But overall, I think we have a pretty healthy market here. So that's the latest update from us. And I want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day weekend. I hope that you just have a blast. And I want to encourage you to remember just some of the great things about your mom and and the positive stuff that she left for you are maybe some of the funny things if you get a chance to share those with her or with somebody. I hope you get to do that. But we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks for joining us today. All right. Bye bye.